video. As you can see, Mr. Warren over here doing some stuff. You ready?
Okay.
Your face. Okay. Alright, guys. My name is Elisan
I'm Isaias
Rivera.
de la Olla.
What? No, stop it. Retake. Hello, everyone. My name is Elisan Diaz Rivera.
Hi, I'm Isaias Rivera. Isaias Rivera.
And we just wanted to make this video. It's been a long time coming, and we wanted to talk a little bit about ourselves, like our journey of being boyfriend and girlfriend, getting engaged, being married, and now we're gonna be married for 6 years. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Some things that we have learned about each other in this journey, and some things that have helped us as a young married couple. And we just hope that is a blessing for everybody that's watching. So to start off, babe, what is the most important lesson you feel like you've learned in these years of marriage?
Choose your battles wisely. And celebrate the small victories, because you're not always gonna win. And yeah.
But explain that a little bit more. When have you chosen your battles wisely?
Under the bus a little bit here.
It's okay.
So there's times where we're not gonna be in agreement, but it's also not the time to argue. Sometimes as a man, you feel that you're the authority figure and you need to show it. And sometimes it happens at wrong times, at wrong places. And that is when you truly need to put on your thinking cap and refrain from doing things or saying things. And I'm not perfect. I'm still practicing that till today. And I'll probably will keeping that in mind and practicing it until I die, because it's everyday. It's we're men. It's something that it's in us to do.
Makes sense. Should we talk about how it all started?
I guess.
So, funny story, because you've heard me explain this, you've heard it already. But when we first met, I legitimately thought that he was a caballero. I saw him at a church service at our old church. And when we said hello at the end of service, he greeted me and he said, "God bless you," and he gave me his hand, and I noticed he had a ring on his ring finger, so I'm like, oh, okay. I thought he had a nice smile. That was the first thing that I noticed. But when I saw the ring, I was like, okay, I guess no, I can't, be interested. But then, after, because I was new at that church, after going to that church, I realized that he was actually my age and that he was not married. That was a purity ring that he had, and he wore it on his ring finger. So yeah, that's how that all happened.
I'll explain the purity ring.
But then, as we got to know each other, obviously the first thing that I looked at was a physical trait. Like I said, I like to smile. But as I got to know him, I got to know a little bit more of his heart. When we first started talking, he was really honest with me. And he wasn't, without getting into much detail, he was not in a great place. But he was honest from the beginning. And that's a trait that I admired from him, since the first moment that I met him. He was always honest. He didn't sugarcoat things or hide things from me. And that was something I really valued. Even though honesty could be a little bit scary, it's a really good trait to have, especially in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, because a lot of relationships, I feel like they fail because you don't really fully get to know the person until you're in deep, and that is a no-no.
Yeah.
So what's your take on when we first met?
So yeah, as she said, I had a purity ring has its own story. I'll just make it short. It was basically my promise to God to let not my emotions get in the way of what He wants for me. Because many times as a youth, man or boy or girl, man or woman, we tend to try to fill a void with materialistic things, and the way I was filling that void was with finding relationships. And because I guess it was just easier to do it that way, then that's what I filled my happiness with, and which led me to a lot of bad things, struggling with. Which was she was talking about. I wasn't in a bad place, not because I was doing drugs, but because I was fighting other addictions, and things like that. That really, I didn't give me a bad name, but give me a bad testimony. And those that were close with me or around me at that time knew what the struggles we were going with. We were fighting, and I was fighting. Because I did have a support group, and that's something that I do thank the church for doing for me. That I didn't only just stay in disciplina, I was walked through it, and I was able to find clarity and find a deeper relationship with God. Don't always follow your heart, because it's not always what God wants, and even though it's not what you want, it's always going to be the best in God's intention.
When did you realize you were interested? How did that go?
That's another long story. Because this one right here likes to jump the gun. So
what? Okay.
I knew I was interested in her, but I didn't know if I was at her caliber. I had a really low self-esteem, and to this day I still try to fight it, even though I know that I'm more than capable, but sometimes it's just like lurks around. It's like, you can't do it, but I know I can. But back then, like, I really did, and this is when I was just going through that process of like re-encountering God and finding Him again. Because a lot of people think that because you're in church and stuff, you're like, you have this opportunity or you're privileged, but no, we have our battles. And sometimes they're big battles that sometimes they're more taboo to talk about in church or not spoken of at all. So I was living with one of my best friends at the time, and he said, you know, to just try to talk to her. I'm like, I don't think I'm capable of it. Like, I looked as myself as like the black sheep, like the lowest of lowest. And little did I know that God looked at me a different way to have blessed me to then marry this beauty right here.
Aww.
But so I even forgot who messaged who first. I just know that we first started talking at church and at the services, like little things here and there. Her brother loved video games, so I'm a big video game guy. Not as much as I used to be, but it was a lot of video gaming before. So you messaged me or I messaged you?
We started talking about art.
So we started talking about art because I noticed she was an art person because she was drawing a lot and posting it.
Yeah, I remember.
So that's how we started talking, but the interest, I don't think the interest like happened there. It took a bit. For me, I know it took a bit. I know she didn't want it. Like, she was like, yo, you're gonna talk to me or you're gonna be straight with me. So I was like, and this was like, how long after?
It was maybe a couple months.
It was a couple months.
The thing is, okay, and this is why he said that I'd like to jump the gun. I am a very straightforward person, and I am a very, like, it's a yes or no. It's not like I might be interested, but I don't know. Because the way I carried myself, like, up until the point that I met him, I didn't really entertain guys that much. Like, I had, like, of course, you know, I met guys, dated, supposedly, but it wasn't like a hobby for me, if to say it some type of way. Like, I didn't dedicate my time to finding the one. You know how a lot of, you know, young people, like he was saying, like sometimes you go through like these moments of loneliness and you just crave that type of attention. I'm human, of course you go through that, but that was not my end all be all. I did not focus on like, when am I gonna find the one for me? Like, that was not my mentality. I had just graduated or was about to graduate college. So I was really thinking more of my next job, my next permanent job. And like, my dad was about to move churches and I was like, okay. So like, my mind was everywhere. Plus I was in a hag. So like, I was already busy with a lot of things. So I wasn't thinking of a relationship. But when I met him, something clicked in a way that I can only say that it was God, really. Because I am really apprehensive when it comes to building relationships. And if you know me well enough, you know that I'm very reserved. I am super reserved, and it takes, for me to trust someone enough to be myself, really, it takes a lot. And from the moment that I met him and from the moment that we started talking, like, it was just so easy to talk to him. It was so easy for me to be myself with him. And like, and it was, I guess it was the same way from him to me, because he was able to tell me, you know, his struggles. He, like I said, he didn't lie to me. He told me straight up like what was going on. And I prayed about it, of course. And I felt like God placed this special love in my heart for him from the beginning. Like, it was a special type of connection that I used to tell him that all the time. Like, you do not see what I see. Because the struggles that he was talking about, like, he went through a lot of, you know, difficult moments. But I used to always tell him that, like, you don't see yourself the way that I see you. And it was so frustrating to me. But I knew, I'm also, if you want to know a little bit more about me, I am very, very focused. When I want something, I go for it and I don't stop until I get it. And I'm not saying that that's what happened with him. I'm not saying that that's what happened. I mean, why you do that face? I mean that once, like, there's something in my head and like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for it. I'm not gonna stop until it happens. But I just feel like, you know, with us, like, God was there from the beginning. And just the way that our relationship was shaped and the circumstances that we went through later on, it was very clear, very evident that God was in the midst.
What have you learned about yourself during this marriage?
That I'm bossy. I'm a bossy person. And I like things to be done a certain way.
AKA micromanager.
Yeah, sometimes I could be a micromanager. But that's just my way of coping. Like, that's my way of having control over things. And now I'm aware of how that can cause friction within our marriage, within our relationship. So I try to catch myself in those moments. And I'm not a perfect person. I might fail. But it's really important to really, really know yourself and know where you fall short. Have those difficult conversations with your spouse, because that is super important. And that's one of the things that I've loved about our relationship. Like, we've been able to have really tough conversations. And the tough conversations start, honestly, when you're boyfriend and girlfriend, because I needed to know that we had the same outlook on life, that we had the same outlook on marriage, on the same outlook on what it is to raise our child, because that causes a lot of friction. And even though we have the same outlook on these important things, we go about them differently. We go about, you know, dealing with our daughter differently. But it's a balance, you know. I feel like we're a team, and let me tell you that being a team didn't always come natural because we're so different from each other. Like, our characters are super different. But I don't think that that's like hindered our marriage, or it hindered the way that we parent. It's only made it stronger because when one of us falls short, the other one can step in. But going back to the original question, I've learned that I'm really bossy. How about you?
I've learned that I'm a serious big kid.
You didn't know that before.
Well, growing up, like, I was kind of forced to mature, and worry about things that I really didn't need to. So I didn't really have the time to sit down and like be a kid, be a teenager. Like her, I was also on a hike. I started really early. Like, I think 14 is the youngest you could start.
And the sociedad, yeah.
And like run. So
no, like 16.
16 was
16,
it?
18.
I don't know. I feel like I was younger. Maybe it's just I would help around the beginning. So maybe that's why it feels like I've been there for a while. But I was there for a bit. All I did was like, there came to a point, like it got really so bad, there came to a point where I was doing services, working, and then playing at other churches at the same time. And my mom was really concerned about me because I was really not getting any sleep. I was working in a restaurant, or more the hotel franchise. So on top of that being already crazy and work intensive, I was doing all these other things. And you know, I was a kid, like I had energy for days, so it didn't really matter if I just got home from work and I needed to go play in an hour. I was gonna do it because that's where my passion is. And I will travel everywhere. But what I've learned is that what I didn't do before, I'm definitely doing it now. So if you look at my other videos and you notice Gundams or whatever, all the Batman stuff, yeah, that's childhood that was never unveiled.
Oh my god.
got time to unfold.
So what would your advice to a guy or a woman, I guess, that's is struggling with what you're explaining? Like, they didn't live a certain stage in their childhood, so they want to live it out in their marriage, but it's causing some strain, it's causing some friction within the marriage. What is your advice?
My advice from what I learned, because when I first got married and I moved out, I was all gung-ho. Like, I quickly, those are 90s kids know about Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that. So I quickly lunged into that. I lunged into playing more PlayStation. Like, I didn't see it that it was affecting anybody because it wasn't bad to my understanding. But when it started affecting the relationship and our communication, that's when I saw it worse. So my advice is you can have all these things. Like, if you come into the basement of my room, my little, whatever, man cave, whatever it's called these days, what I wanted to do in my early teens, it's all really what it is. And it makes me feel like It's the part of me that I never got to live. And what I tell you is to do it periodically. Don't do it all at once, because either half is gonna feel it in the future, or now, or at the moment. Have priorities. Your priorities should always be first. Do it periodically. If you have a family, you got kids, and you're married or thinking about getting married, or if it's happening now while you're before marriage, get it out the way. Like, get the energy out the way, and even then, in the process of getting married, do it slowly, do it periodically. Don't spend hours on it, days on it. Prioritize. I'm not saying that playing video games is bad, or it's the devil, or playing cards is the devil. Getting on the PC is the devil. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is prioritize. Prioritize life. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your wife. Woman, enjoy your men. If you had a time where you didn't enjoy certain things and you're trying to enjoy it now while in marriage, you skip that time and you're not gonna get that back. And there's nothing you can do to try to get that back, unfortunately. Like I said, do it periodically. Don't overextend yourselves, and prioritize what's in front of you, because that's the future, and that's the time that's gonna be embraced.
Yeah, I think because we both, like, it goes back to saying, like, we're both different people. Your interests are super different from mine, and vice versa. So as you can see, like, I like makeup. However, like what he was saying, priorities is super important. If there's any activity at all that is taking away your time from, first of all, God, and it's taking your time away from your family, then you need to reevaluate your priorities. You need to reset, your priorities, because it's something is not working. Your priorities should be God, your family, then the church. And that's something that we are constantly reminding each other and keeping each other accountable as well. Because like you said, like, once that precious time goes, you can't get it back. We have a almost 5-year-old, she's 4, she's about to be 5 in a couple months. And these are moments that we'll not get back as parents. And we have to make sure that we do everything, scale everything, and that we give our time to everything that we want to do and those things that we have to do.
What goals do you see us completing in the future?
That's a good question. I feel like, oh my gosh. Honestly, my wish is for us to become business owners. That is my ultimate wish. Doing something around art, media, or even cooking. I don't know really, but it's always been something that I've shared with you. I want for us to be our own bosses, and I want to, explore our talents, because we're both, talented in different areas. So I feel like we have more than enough talent to really venture out into business ownership. So what is your advice to youth that are searching or are waiting in the Lord for their significant other?
First of all, it might sound very rude, but don't take it that way. If you're searching, stop. That's the first mistake. Don't search. Focus on your life. Make yourself a better person. Build yourself. So when you do meet that person, you're ready. Have a bank account, have a savings account, build your credit,
That's
and
important.
just pursue your career. Be ready for that person. So when that person meets you, you're ready to go. And you know what you're doing, you know what you want. More importantly, what you need. Because most of the time what we want, it could look amazing on the outside, but the inside is just not what you need at all. So keep that in mind. So what is your advice for couples that are looking to get married?
So my advice stems a little bit from what you said already. So really work on you. Work on really getting to know one another. Because when your boyfriend and girlfriend is all fun and games, little birdies flying around, butterflies in your
Puppy
stomach,
love.
and all that stuff. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's one of the stages of being in love and loving that person. But really have those important conversations. Like I said earlier, you really, really have to really know the person that you're going to commit your life to. Because as a Christian couple, marriage is not just something that we could take and leave. It's not just something that we can, today we say I do, but tomorrow we take it back. Just like a little bit like the pastor was preaching today, like it's an oath before God, first of all, which we should take that super seriously. And it's an oath before society. It's an oath, in front of the people that you love. So you really need to get to know that person. As much as you can, of course, because you're never going to fully know them until you live with them. So, but get to know that person. Get really to know their mind, their way of thinking, their ideas. Get to know what's important to them and make sure that it goes with what's important to you. That's one of the things that we really talked about when we were boyfriend and girlfriend. We talked about family. And he really understood how important my family is to me. He understood how much I value family overall. And to me, family is everything. It's everything. And we also knew that we had certain goals in mind, like to own a house. Like we wanted to, do certain things together. And like those were our goals, and we had a timeline. And thank God that God, had provided us with, the means to really accomplish those goals. But my advice overall is to really get to know one another, really get to know each other's minds and your values and stuff like that. Now, what's your advice for young marriages?
Be patient. And when you think you've had all the patience in the world, continue to be more patient. Because life throws curveballs, and God gives you the tools to work with it. There's gonna be frustrating times. Even when you have that small victory or big victory that you've been waiting for, life just happens. Like not too long ago, we just bought a house, and then little things happened afterwards. Like there was a leak in our daughter's room that we got fixed. But at first it was pretty bad. We even thought of ripping down the wall and remodeling. It turns out it wasn't actually that bad. And then recently we got a hole in the ceiling in the dining room. So things happen, and I'm always more mellow. I'm always very just like, okay, so we'll resolve it. This one, on the other hand, starts going crazy.
I worry about everything.
Starts going crazy, and yeah.
So it's about balance too.
So yeah, balance.
Because I think what has helped us a lot is our differences. Because he's so mellow, and I am so like, my mind is always going and going and going and going. But that can be exhausting for anyone. And then, will always need that person to say, like, everything's gonna be fine. Stop worrying, calm down. And in this case, that's him.
Yeah, I live a day on that day. This one's moving into the future 20 years ahead, thinking about what flying car we're gonna pick.
What?
That is her at all times, 100%.
I am always that comes back to like me being in control. I need to be in control, and I need to know every detail of everything, and I need to know when things are happening, by when they're happening. But it balances out because I am the one that's always worrying. He's the one that calms me down, and then whenever he should be paying attention to something a little bit more attentively, then I'm like, hey babe, no, like we really need to pay attention to this. So we balance each other out. I'm a serious person. He's a goofball. So we have to kind of like we have to kind of like balance that out, because in a social setting I'm more like dry and he's a social butterfly. So we kind of have to like bounce off each other in that sense.
I'm like an introvert, extrovert, weird combination.
You're
I
social.
I have my days where I don't want to talk to anybody.
You're social.
Which is weird because my job, I'm a help desk analyst, and I have to talk to people.
I don't want to talk to anyone.
And there's times where I'm cut and dry, and sometimes she hear me because most of the time I'm working from home. Like, I'll be cut dry with them. I'll give them a solution. I'll try to be out of that call as fast as I can. But that's just the way I am.
Yeah. But overall, I'm really thankful for this person right here, because we've been through a lot. This past year alone, we've been through things in our marriage that we didn't think we would go through, and I'm talking about health wise, and it was a struggle. But in those difficult moments, I was able to reflect and really thank God for bringing him into my life. And I was able to reflect on God's blessings, because it's like we were saying earlier, like we want to do things our way, and ultimately God knows what we need. God knows every little detail, every little aspect of our lives. God's in control of it, and we just have to surrender ourselves to him and just trust that he knows best. And I am super thankful that I was able to trust God, and I was able to wait in him for my special person, because what he gives it to us like 1,000 times better than what we would have, done for ourselves. So yeah, this is just a little snippet of us.
Part 2 coming. She just wants to keep talking.
Yo! Thank you guys for listening, if you're still there. And yeah, if you want to hear any more about our testimony, or you want to listen to more advice, or there's a specific topic in mind, please let us know, and we'll be glad to share that with you guys. So, thank you. Bye.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that like button.